Do you have that worship song that you just keep singing over and over and over and over and over again, and you're like, I am so tired of singing this worship song. It's driving me crazy, but every time I sing it, people still respond to it. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 reasons it's okay to sing the same worship song over and 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 over. Hey, Spencer here from leadingworshipwell.com. This is the place where we talk about how to lead yourself well, lead your church well, and lead worship well. Before we get into things, leading worship isn't just about leading your church. It's not just about leading yourself, but you've also got a team probably that you're leading as well. And the best way to lead your team is through your worship team rehearsals. That's why I put together the worship rehearsal blueprint. You can check it out down in the description below. It's a 5-step blueprint that will help you have the best worship rehearsal you've ever had. You'll be able to lead your team well spiritually, relationally, and musically. So check that out in the description below. But today we're talking about singing the same song over and over and over. I won't go through the whole thing again, but we're talking about singing it over and over again. Do you have a song like that at your church? Maybe you aren't the worship leader at your church, but your worship leader keeps picking the same song over and over again. Maybe you're just a church member and you're watching this video and you're like, my worship leader sings the same song every other week, and it annoys me because I want to stop singing it. Well, I want to share with you today why it's okay to sing the same song over and over again. In fact, it's probably preferred, but before we get into that, I want to hear from you. What song do you sing the most often at your church? Think back on this past year. Think, what song have we sung? Probably it feels like for you too much. You've sang it over and over and over again. Let us know in the comments below. Talk to you in a second. Thanks so much for leaving your answer down below. Let's get into these 3 reasons why it's okay to sing the same song over and over and over and over again. The first reason is this: people don't hear worship songs as often as you do. If you are a worship leader or a worship team member, you are listening to worship music probably a lot more than the average person in your church. So there's that angle of it where maybe you have Christian radio on frequently, or maybe you've got the Christian indie Spotify playlist up all the time and you're constantly hearing these new songs, or maybe just the same song over and over again that you've introduced at your church and you're like, I've heard this song a million times. That's not the typical story for the person in your church, right? They're listening to pop music, they're listening to country, I don't know, whatever. I'm not saying that they never listen to worship music, but you probably listen to it more. So just from a general music perspective, there's that part of it, but also think about the amount of times that you hear and play the song that you're leading compared to the amount of times that the person in your church hears that song. Think about it. Your worship team leader, or if you are the worship team leader, you send it out to your team. And if you're the worship team leader, you've probably already listened to the song 4 or 5 times to determine whether you actually want to lead it in your church. So there you go, 5 times right there. You've already heard it. And then you send it out to your team, and now you're like, well, now I actually have to learn this song. So you listen to it 4 more times to actually learn the words and the melody and the chords and whatever. You've heard it 9 times now. Now, you've got to run through it with your team, right? Let's add another, 4, 5, let's go 5 times. All right, so now you're at 14. I ran out of fingers, but you're at 14 times you've heard the song now. So you play through it with your team. And then what do? You play through it again on Sunday morning before you actually lead it for the first time. So now you're up to 15 times that you've heard the song. And then your church comes in on Sunday morning, and after you've heard the song for 15 times, they finally sing it with you. And then what happens? Next week you do it again at rehearsal, and you do it again before the service, and then your church hears it with you one more time. So there's like for every 20 times you've heard a song, your church has heard it once. So keep that ratio in mind. The people of your church have not heard this song as much as you have heard it. So you might be tired of it. You might be ready to move on, but your church probably isn't because they haven't heard it that often. Let's move on to the second reason. The second reason it's okay to lead the same song over and over and over again is because it takes time for your church to learn a song. Remember, it took you 15 times to learn a song, of hearing it before you actually learned it and could lead it. Now your church has to learn it with you, but they aren't rehearsing in the middle of the week. They're like just hearing it on Sunday, and the average church attender only comes one Sunday out of the month. So they might not even be at church whenever you do it. So they might only hear that song like 6 times during the year if you do it frequently in your worship rotations. So now the ratio gets even bigger, where before we were thinking about if they were there every week, but if they're only there one Sunday out of the month, then it's like for every 80 times you've played the song, they've actually heard the song. That's the average person in your church, which means that they don't get to learn it as fast as you do. So in your head, you're thinking, we've done this song for the past 4 weeks. Yeah, but most people have only heard the song one time. So you got to do it for the next 4 weeks. And then the next 4 weeks after that, that might be a bit much. You can take a break in there somewhere. But just keep that in mind, that it takes time for your church to learn a song because they aren't hearing it as much. So if you want your church to learn a song and grasp onto it, you can't be afraid to do it over and over and over and over and over again, because that's what's going to help them learn those songs. Think about those songs that your church really sings out. They're probably the songs that you're tired of playing. Keep doing those songs over and over until your church learns them. And finally, number 3, the third reason you should do songs over and over and over again, and it's okay to do that, is because not only does it take time for your church to learn a song, it takes your church time to understand a song. Do you ever notice this? I know I do this. When I hear a song for the first time, I'm appreciating the musical side of it. I hear it some more, and then I start to be able to sing along with it, right? And this is kind of a picture of what our church does. We hear it, our church hears it, and they recognize it as music and as a new song. Maybe the next time they hear it, they're able to sing along a little bit more. The next time they hear it, they're able to sing it along even a little bit more. And then finally, and this is what happens to me, I'll hear a song that I've been singing for a while, and I'm like, I never realized that that's what that said right there. I never realized that that was the lyric, or that that's what that part meant, because I was so focused on learning the musical side of it. So not only does it take time for your church to learn a song, it takes time for your church to understand a song. So if you want it to actually be used in worship, which worship isn't just about singing words to God randomly, it's about the heart behind the act of singing. And to have a heart behind the act of singing, we should probably know what we're singing, right? So give your church time to understand the song. Let the words sink into them, and that is going to be well past whenever you're sick and tired of playing the song. So play these songs over and over and over and over again. It'll be okay. So if you feel sick and tired of playing a song, and you're like, I just wish that we could move on to a new song, think about it. Has my church heard this as often as I have? Are they able to sing it with me? They're probably able to sing it with you, but are they able to understand it? And then only once they're able to understand it, sing it and understand it, can it actually be like a foundational song in your worship repertoire. And then that's when it starts the process of, okay, we're going to do this song for another year and maybe take it out and give it a break. Start thinking about song selection that way. It's okay to do songs over and over again. Before you go, I put together a free PDF called the Worship Rehearsal Blueprint. In it, I show you how to have the best worship rehearsal you've ever had. So check that out in the description below. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me. Until I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.